Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on?
What's going on, big times and big times? We're going to be talking about basically how to go through discovery and create what we call objectionless closes, and more or less how you guys can create presentations and overcome obstacles before they turn into objections. Prevent molehills from turning into mountains, for lack of a better term. And so I know Tim's getting the script pulled up here. We're going to kind of be talking about that. Tim, how's it going?
Going good, brother. Going good. Can't complain. It's nice and warm here. Enjoying the summertime. And excited to dive into some discovery stuff here. Why are you like lowering your eyes?
You're wearing a hoodie, dude. You just said it was. I just realized that. Why are you wearing a hoodie in the summer?
I actually don't know. It's just super convenient. You can just like throw a hoodie on, take it off. It's like warm when you're inside and the AC is pumping, and then you can go outside and it's not too bad either. So just hoodie year round.
Wow. Love that. Cool.
Yeah, it just makes sense, honestly.
Amazing.
But yeah.
So comment where you're coming from. If you guys got hoodie weather or not, let us know.
It's always hoodie weather, dude. If I was in Arizona right now, I would be wearing a hoodie too.
You say that. But anyways, hoodie weather aside, I know you guys are probably dying, itching, begging to get into this right now because objectionless closes are what we all want. So why don't you guys go ahead and comment down below a few of the objections that you guys are really running into, and we'll basically kind of go through discovery and kind of find out what that actually looks like and how to prevent those types of things. I'll start with a few of the ones that I've seen that have come up that are huge is let me talk to my spouse. That's a huge one.
That'll definitely be a good one for us to touch on. And also, like, just prefacing, because last week we touched on the call intro. So if you guys missed that, go back and watch episode 2 of How to Make Six Figures Selling Life Insurance.
Yeah.
We touched on the call intro, which is, obviously super valuable when it comes to going through the script. But today's video, we're going to be talking about the discovery and then also answering some Q&A questions at the end here.
Yep. And so, guys, really talking about some of these questions. Some of these you can script out, some of these you can't. But really what we're looking at here is just kind of really trying to blow the landmines up before we step on them later in the sale. And so if you're getting objections, I need to think about it. I need to talk to my wife. And, you're just getting these things that are just kind of blowing up in the end. You're wondering what's going wrong, why you can't do it. Even if you're using the perfect objection overcome that you watched in one of our other videos, maybe you're still not getting past it. It's oftentimes what's going wrong in your discovery. And so I want actually to kind of scroll up a bit, Tim, if you don't mind. With it actually starts here where you say, are you looking for yourself or for you and a loved one? And so the reason why we say that is because we want to find out really is there another decision maker without saying, is there another decision maker? Because as soon as you say well, are you the decision maker? Not only do you sound like a disgusting sleazeball worth of slime salesman, but now there's going to be sales resistance in the call.
Yeah.
Because you're basically implying they now have to make a decision today. And today's call is really just to kind of see if we can help. So if you're coming this early into the game with the decision maker questions, doing that, big red flag. And the best way to tactically go about this is by just really asking if they're looking for themselves and a loved one. And then you can also kind of figure out what their previous experience is. And that's why we say, was this your first time looking into life insurance? And these two pieces here are going to tell you a lot of things. Is there another decision maker in the process? Or is it going to be a husband and wife policy, potentially a his and hers situation? If it's not their first time looking into life insurance, they may have it already. They may have been shopping around. These are great times to really blow up these landmines because you don't want to get into the close not having asked these questions and oh, I got to talk to my husband, I got to talk to my wife, or oh, actually, you know what, this is my first time looking into this. I'm going to go shop around. We can avoid these by we just covered 2 different objections right now that are cut off at the cuff as soon as we are not even the first 30 seconds in. And I guess I'll open it up to you, Tim, and really to the comments here before we kind of transition to the rest of discovery. What questions do we really have about this, or Tim, what do you have to add on this?
I mean, as far as the first one goes, like the line you just covered, I think, like, just simply put, you're kind of killing two birds with one stone here, because you're ironing out, objections in the future, and you're also just laying yourself up for future policy. So, pretty much no brainer, not too much explanation needed on that. The main thing where it really gets like, the rubber meets the road is later on as we get further down into step 2, discovery. And actually, just yesterday, I had an agent ask me about this, and he said that he was getting a bunch of people that were telling him, I need to think about it, right? And props to this agent, because he actually identified correctly that part of his issue was in digging deeper in discovery and finding out the why. Part of it, to be honest, for him in particular, was like the particular I need to think about it objection and that overcome. But that's kind of a side note. The main thing was that his discovery was very surface level, right? So one thing that I think is really important when we go through discovery, and obviously we'll touch on this a little more as we get into the video longer, but basically the key here is you don't want to just ask these questions verbatim, right? You're almost like a detective. You're like Sherlock Holmes. And so these are like your initial questions that are going to uncover clues so that you can dig deeper. That's really what you're doing here. Ultimately, that's like the main goal of the discovery, is you're not just asking these questions word for word. You're basically finding clues so you can dig deeper and get better information. That's something that I think a lot of people get wrong when they go through discovery, is you can't really script out the discovery process. It's like near impossible, because there's so many different situations they could be in. You just have to know how to ask the right questions based off of the information that you get. And that's ultimately what we're going to be showing you guys in this training.
Yeah. And the good thing about this is too, is like when you get information, they will like, it will give you the clue to ask the right questions. So like, for example, if I am like a doctor and they say, hey, my leg hurts, I'm going to be like, what happened to your leg? You guys get what I'm saying? I'm not going to be like, okay, it's good to hear that your leg hurts, but let's talk about your heart.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense unless somehow it's connected. If you're a doctor in the comments, like I don't need to hear that if like there's some like progression of heart and leg questions. But my point is like when they tell you of an issue that exists, let's beat the issue down. Let's figure out what's wrong and get into it. So Tim, if you actually want to be my prospect, we can kind of demonstrate this, go back and really unpack what it actually looks like, if that works for you.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Perfect.
Start right there.
Yeah, I'll pick up with okay. And Tim, what was it that you were kind of concerned about? Was it really just like leaving money behind for family, or kind of covering funeral expenses?
I was more so just trying to, cover funeral expenses, leave a little bit extra money behind if I can afford to.
Okay. And when you say like leaving money behind, like what exactly do you mean by that?
Leaving money behind to my kids, maybe, I don't know, help them out a little bit.
Oh, that's cool. And when you say like help them out, would this be like really to like give them a leg up to maybe like go to college or get their first house, or like what stage of life are they in, I guess?
I mean, they have kids of their own, so, really just like help them pay bills and stuff, kind of a little gift, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay. And I guess like, do you have really anything in place currently in the event that something were to kind of happen to you?
No, not at the moment.
Gotcha. And that's obviously, that kind of sounds like a little bit of a vulnerable place to be. I can see why you're looking into this. Tim, what I'm really looking at here is figuring out like how much insurance we actually need to look at. Did you want to do like a traditional burial or more like a cremation?
Burial.
A burial. And what else? Like, is there, outside of the money that you're leaving behind for the family, if it's possible, would there be anything else we need to cover? Like any car payments or is there anything else like we need to take care of, or?
No, that's it.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. And so are you kind of like familiar with the cost of a burial here in the area?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. What kind of prices have you seen out there?
Pause real quick, because this is something where I think a lot of people get tripped up on this, is they'll just ask this question outright. And then when somebody says yes, they just move on to the next question. But if somebody says yes, they know the cost of a burial, you need to figure out what cost they quote unquote know.
Yeah. 100%.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing about, I don't know, $12,000 for a burial here.
And I think we can kind of go back up a little bit here while we have a pause. Is we can kind of
Yeah.
scroll back up and kind of really unpack like what's going on here. If you go back to like the very beginning, like we're really asking what they're concerned about and making a couple of suggestions. So when we do this, we're really trying to figure out and get to the bottom of like what's actually going on here. And notice how Tim was like, oh, I want to leave something behind. What I used to do when I was a clown is I would be like, oh, cool. And like, what did you want to what do you want to leave that behind for? And they would just be like, just to leave something behind. And I'd be like, oh, that's nice. But like, I mean, what specifically? They'd just be like, just want to leave some money. And so like literally for whatever reason, everybody just wants to leave money behind. And so what I'll do is I'll actually just make suggestions. I'll be like, yeah, okay, cool. So, and there's like, I don't know what stage of life your family's in, like leave money behind for college or like to help out with a house, or like a lot of the times they just want to leave like an inheritance, but they want to like, that sounds more prestigious than just like leaving money behind. And so they're like, or is this just like an inheritance? And they're like, oh, it's an inheritance. And like, they're, you know what I mean? They're like, oh my gosh, this is, yeah, it is. That's exactly what this is.
Yeah. That's, we got this from one of our mentors. It's called the question, suggestion, question framework. Where basically you ask a question, give a suggestion, and then ask another question, right? So it's like, basically giving those suggestions. Yeah. So like, what exactly was it that you were, concerned about? Were you just looking, leave money behind for family or cover funeral expenses, or what exactly is this policy meant to cover? So it's like a question sandwich, basically. Or, I'm just like, leave money behind. Okay, got it. And when you say leave money behind, you're looking at, I don't know, just help them out with college, car payment, maybe an inheritance. What exactly do you want to leave that money behind for?
Yeah. And using the language of like exactly or specifically really gets them to go into further details.
Yeah.
And one thing, if you guys notice, it's like once I finally got to the end of the question, when they kept saying, oh, my leg hurts, but it's actually the lower part of my leg and it's my calf. And like, I'm really pinpointing the problem. Like, oh, and so you're leaving this behind to help out with blank. Yeah. Oh, okay. And then I guess like, do you have like any insurance in place currently in the event that something were to happen to you? No, I don't. And I can just confirm their worst fears, which is that really does sound like a vulnerable place to be in. And as I transition into this burial thing, the difference between like people who are amateurs and experts are those that have the knowledge to help this prospect make the decision moving forward. And the people that are like, oh, well, do you want a burial or cremation? They're like, okay, cool. And they just move on, like Tim talked about earlier. Like those people are clowns. And it's because you're not actually clearly defining the problem. And if you don't define the problem, you can't define the solution.
Yeah.
Just making sense? You're getting this?
Spam yes in the chat if it's making sense.
Yeah. And so as we like really transition here into this next question where we're like, yeah, how much, have you like, how much church luck did you want to do like a burial cremation? When they say yes, right? Oh yeah, I am familiar with the cost. Oh, okay, gotcha. And what have you been seeing?
Yeah.
They'll always say something that's super off the wall too. Oh, 40,000? Really, 40,000? Where are you living at? Oh, I mean, dog, like my family gets buried in outer space. You know what I mean? Like, but they're actually just like, oh no, we just get buried down at Dallas Memorial or whatever. And like, they'll say some off the wall stuff sometimes. Oh yeah, my wife got cremated 2 years ago. It was 25,000. What? How did you spend 25 grand on her cremation? And like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to get too deep into that, but I'll just be like, okay. And like, if they're way off, if we scroll back up, you can actually see it. We'll tell them what we're seeing and what's actually out there so that we can continue to be the expert that's like maintaining that frame. But I also ask for, is there like, and what else? What else did you want to cover?
Yeah.
So we can have an all-in-one solution for them. Anything to add on that, Tim, before I jump into like the next piece, really?
No, I mean, I think we're pretty much through the discovery. I think after we get through this, there's a question framework I want to give everyone that I think is super helpful for this. But yeah, we can keep going.
Cool. So as we go through here, we're basically just like trying to blow up any of the landmines that could come up as a potential objection or potential roadblock Like, for example, if they've been declined for Mutual of Omaha, I don't want to apply them for Mutual of Omaha.
Yeah.
Or, if they don't understand that you can even get declined for life insurance and it's their first time looking into it, I still want to cover my bases to say, like, have you ever been declined? Because if I say that, then they kind of have a better frame of mind that it's something you still have to qualify for, and people do get declined. So it's another 2 birds, 1 stone scenario where we can go through and really just ask them, like, okay, and Tim, like, just to make sure I'm covering my bases here, have you ever been declined for life insurance?
Yeah. Actually, we'll just say no to make it easier.
No to make it easier. If they say yes, just ask them why, and you'll learn a lot about that situation.
Did they tell you why you got declined?
Yeah. Oh, really? Did they tell you why? And you can literally just leave it there and follow it up. So, like, once we've gone through all these things, we've kind of gotten a pretty decent amount of information. We can go into, got it. Okay, Tim, that makes sense. And it looks like you really listed your, daughter, Samantha, as your beneficiary. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay. And earlier you said that you wanted to, like, basically kind of help her out with paying some bills, and ultimately you just wanted to make sure that Samantha didn't really have to pay for that funeral if something were to happen to you. Am I hearing you right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. And so then from there, obviously you're going to go through, set expectations, break everything down, and, like, start framing the way that this is going to go.
Yeah.
But
what were you going to say?
I was going to say, but ultimately, like, that's pretty much discovery. You're just trying to, bang out objections. And, like, the objections we've covered is, like, I need to wait, right? Because I need to do it now because they don't have any protection in place. We've banged out declines. It could potentially come up if you make an underwriting whoopsie.
Mm-hmm.
We've covered potential spouse objections, thinking about it with the fact that they've identified that they need to do it now, cover that person, make sure they don't have to pay for X, Y, and Z. And there was one more that we covered, but you'd have to scroll back up for me to look at it. I'm exhausted. It's been a long day. But there was one more that we had covered there as well. And all of these are
just maybe that's not enough coverage if they thought the burial was crazy expensive.
Oh, I was going to say they already have insurance and don't feel like what you have to offer is what they need. So you can really cover a lot of different things there, and you're basically good to go, which puts you in a very, very good spot to tee up to go out and close, because then the only objections that can really come up is the money piece, right? Where they're like, I don't want to do that. And then we've also already asked them if they've looked around or if it was their first time looking. So we should have already beat that objection down before it even became a problem in the close.
Yep.
So the biggest one you're going to run into really with this is just going to be the money piece.
What I want to add to this is basically when you are asking these discovery questions, you're almost looking for, it's like a loose thread in a t-shirt, right? And when you find the loose thread, like, sometimes you pull at it and it just comes out. And then sometimes you pull at it and, like, starts unraveling your whole t-shirt. So you're just looking for these little loose threads. Whenever you see a loose thread, you're going to pull it. So you're going to ask follow-up deeper questions to gather more intel. So, like, for example, right, let's say we're going through this part in the script and or in the discovery, and Julian's like, what exactly were you looking to cover, right? Or I could say, what were you concerned about, right? And sometimes people will just start talking, right? When you give them the floor, people just start talking. They give you information. That's why we want to speak less than our client. So, let's say I ask him that and he's like, yeah, well, I want to cover a burial. We just had to, bury my, or my brother just died and I just saw my niece and nephew go through a big challenge with that, right? That is a loose thread. I want to pull that more. So I want to ask a follow-up question about that. So he's like, hey, my brother just died. Niece and nephew had to go through that. Oh my gosh, my condolences. I'm sorry to hear that. So you mentioned that your brother just passed away and you saw your niece and nephew go through it. What kind of situation was that? Like, how did they come up with the money? Did they have to take out a loan, or what was the situation there? So I'm going to gather a little bit more deep intel into what happened, right? And then let's say they go, oh yeah, they had to take out a loan. They had to go, sell their car to do that. Oh my gosh, that's absolutely terrible. And I'm guessing, you mentioned that you want to leave something to your daughter. I'm guessing it's kind of important to you to make sure that your daughter doesn't have to go through that same type of situation. Is that right? Yes, exactly. Perfect. So now we've gathered this extra intel. We've figured out on a deeper reason what their why is because they just saw someone go through this and they don't want their kids to go through it. So a good way for you guys to remember this is usually the first question you're going to ask is in terms of follow-up is going to be like a clarifying question. And then the other question is going to be like, why is that important to you? And then the third question, if you get that deep, is going to be what are the consequences if you don't do anything? And if you kind of go through the discovery, you find these different pieces of intel, and then you fire off these 3 follow-up questions, you're going to get so much more valuable info that you can take into the close, and the connection with the prospect is going to be 10 times deeper.
Yeah. And one of my favorite, like really consequence questions that I wanted to add to that as well. This one is like, you got to be like, you have to have some EQ for this. Like you can't just be a freaking robot and just be like throwing it out there. But when you like really they're like really leaning in and they're like, oh yeah, no, I mean, I don't want my daughter to like do that at all. A lot of the times, you know, because I had this come up for one of our clients, one of the agents that we work with here today. He was like, yeah, I had this guy tell me he's going to put it in the stock market. Or some people will try to tell you they'll save it up and do it themselves and this, that, and the third. And so one of the like consequence questions I really love asking when you're in the discovery like this is like, they'll say, yeah, no. I mean, that's why I want to look into this. I want to make sure my daughter doesn't have to pay for it. And be like, what? And Tim, just like on the off chance that you don't even qualify for this stuff, like, do you have a backup plan? And they just never do. And that's why they're looking into the insurance. So they'll just be like, I mean, no. Or they'll say something like, well, I mean, I'd probably have to save it. And then and in which case you can just be like, I mean, yeah, but the way prices are going up, by the time you get there, it's going to have already gone up by another 5, maybe even 10 grand by then. I can kind of see why you're looking into this now. I'm not going to get off the phone today until we make sure that we find at least something out there for you, Tim. I'll do my best, I promise. And I'm making that promise to you here today to make sure that you understand, like, I'm not going anywhere. Okay, is that okay? And they'll be like, yeah. So now we've got permission to stay on the phone as long as we need. We've leaned in, and they were just like, holy crap, I need this.
Yeah, 100%.
But you got to have some EQ. You can't just be like, well, what if you get declined? Like, or what if you can't qualify for this? Like, if you just deliver that wrong, you can really butcher it and break your rapport. But like, if you deliver it properly, it can be killer line.
Yep, I agree. Awesome. So let's open it up to Q&A here. James, I saw you asked a question. You said that you're running your own Facebook ads and want us to review your ad. Just send us a link real quick in the chat to your ads library, and we can review it right here and take a look at it for you. And then Brandon says, can you please send me the script? Yes, it'll be in the description. Once we're not live, it'll be in the description of this video. It's also in the description of all of our YouTube videos. It just says get access to the free script. And if you just click on that, you can get the script that we're showing you. Miguel, what's going on? What's going on, my man? Awesome. So we're going to open it up to questions. If you guys have questions, drop them in the chat. We're going to be here for the next 7-8 minutes here, and we can open it up to questions. And then James, again, if you want me to look at your ad, just send me a link to your ads library, and we can review it live here on the call. I think James might have dipped.
Awesome. Cool deal. What other questions do we have about making money selling life insurance? Let us know in the comments below. And if you don't have any, Tim and I are going to go take an early hiatus from this call. If it's just crickets. I hear Tim's crickets in the background.
Yeah, you can actually hear those?
Yeah, I can actually hear them. They're really loud. Do these strategies work for all types of insurance products? Yes. So the sales approach that we take is like a problem solution consultation. Obviously, like, you're not going to be able to pitch out like in an IUL, for example. I know you're asking about IULs. You're not going to just be like, to be able to go out and like pitch an IUL with projections using this, but the like setting up yourself to overcome these roadblocks, busting down these walls in discovery. Like, you still need to know if an IUL client has insurance or not. You still need to know if a mortgage protection client has been declined or not. You still need to know if they're going to be protecting themselves and a loved one or not. You still need to understand, like, if you get what I'm saying, like, obviously I'm not going to go through every single piece of discovery, but like, discovery regardless needs to be thoroughly done regardless of what product you're selling. I mean, you could be selling mortgages themselves and you still got to ask questions to go through and understand.
We're working on a script like specific for like term mortgage protection IUL, like that whole market, because the process is relatively similar for all of that, unless you're doing like infinite banking or something, which I recommend staying away from for a number of reasons. But yeah, I mean, the sales process works. That's something we're actually going to be releasing here pretty soon. Sneak peek. But yeah, it does.
The sneakiest of peakiest.
We don't really do anything for like health insurance just because of like compliance, but for life products, like the strategies we teach, you could apply them to everything. For now, we've been mainly focused on doing final expense for clients, but we're going to be expanding more to the term and IUL side very, very soon. Great question, Miguel. Miguel's actually inside of our program. We run ads for Miguel and do all that kind of stuff. Miguel's a really cool guy.
What other questions we have here in the comments? I know this is basically going to be a Miguel Q&A session after the end of the day. He's popped out the last 4. Keep them coming, Miguel. I mean, if you've got more, like, we're obviously happy to answer them. I'm just looking to see if we've got anybody else with any other questions. And if not, I'm going to start doing push-ups. Not actually going to do push-ups, but are you still offering the free leads program? No, we are not currently offering the free leads program. Miguel says, lol. Yeah, the Miguel Q&A session is in session.
Yeah, literally. Awesome.
What else?
Brandon, if you're still watching, I want to make sure you're able to get that script. Again, if you guys want access to the script we just showed you, it's literally in the link of every single YouTube video on the channel. Just get access to the free script. Yeah, you literally cannot miss it. So yeah, you can download that and do that as well. Nate says, is Wave the only dialer we can use, or can you continue to use Kixie? Yeah, you can use either one. The reason we switched to Wave is usually just an easier setup for people starting from scratch. But if you already have Kixie, we can also integrate with that. We have a whole section of our program that shows you how to set it up with Kixie. So if you already have Kixie, you can use that. Just make sure you have the triple line dialer and local number wrapping. It's super important.
Yeah, great question. What's going on, Nate? I think we talked, was it Monday? I'm losing track of the days right now, but excited to see you out here getting after it.
Nate is also in the program.
Let's see. What other questions do we have here before we check out tonight, guys?
Yeah.
The people that are already in our program are also the ones that are working on asking us questions even outside of the program. So as you can see, these people are proactive about building their business, learning, and growing. So if you're one of those people, it looks like PT Home Health asked us, how much is your program? Everything that we do is custom work. So it really just depends. It's a 4-figure investment depending on what your needs are, but it's not like a one size fits all. It really just depends on what exactly you need. If you'd like to book a call, I'm sure Tim can drop a link below. Yeah, and we can really learn about what it is that you're doing to see if what we do is even what you need.
100%. Let's see. Just drop this here. Learn more about program. I'm going to drop a link down there, ladies and gents. So basically the way this works is we pretty much set up and run everybody's ads for them. Generating them low cost, high intent leads. Average cost right now for a final expense lead across all of our clients is sub $10, which is great. And then we also have a whole automated selling system to get people booking appointments on your calendar. One of our clients is getting 11 pre-booked appointments per day. And then basically we help you guys implement our script, our objection overcomes, and our whole sales process so that you guys can start writing $20, $30, even $40,000 a month over the phone. So that's pretty much how the program works. Got some great people, great results. If you want to learn more about that, just drop the link down below. But I also want to include for you guys, if you are not already inside of the school community, this is a free course that we have that teaches you like how to set up your ads, how to do all that stuff. We have live sales call recordings here as well that you can access. So I'm going to post this. Get access to free course. And if you don't already have access to that, go ahead and jump in. It's literally a completely free course. And we're also in there answering people's questions and helping out as well. It's like a Facebook group, but better, basically.
Amazing. And we're going to wrap up here. Richard, no, we don't sell leads. And PT Home Health, what is required ad spend to be successful each week? We recommend at least $40 a day to be successful and actually
get minimum. Leads. If you're going to write, $20K a month, you're going to be wanting to spend $80 plus, but you obviously scale up to that point. You don't have to start out there if you don't have the budget for it. It's all a ramp up process, essentially.
Beautiful. Awesome. Tim, you want to close this out before we jump out of here?
Absolutely. Ladies and gents, links are down below if you guys want to learn about the program where we literally run ads for you and do all the things I just mentioned earlier. Link down below in the description. You can also get the free telesales script and our free course. All links are below in the description. We will see you guys next week. Bring your Qs and we will bring our As, and we'll be sure to help you guys out. See you soon. Bye.
Later, skaters.